inductee with tears in his eyes saying, I didn't think anybody remembered. And so the Hall of Fame means a lot to me, mostly because we can remember those people who came before us that accomplished a lot. And I would never want someone to say, I didn't know anybody would remember me. So the Hall of Fame has been a blessing. It's an extra perk, unexpected for this nomination. So thank you, everyone.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Johnny Morehouse, and I, along with my co-host Tina Vanderwall, welcome you to the 8th, almost annual Fruitport Hall of Fame induction ceremony. Formerly known as the Fruitport Athletic Hall of Fame, outstanding athletes, teams, coaches, and supporters of Fruitport Athletics have been honored with the induction into the Fruitport Athletic Hall of Fame since 2013. We say almost annual, as this is our first class of inductees since 2019 due to the COVID pandemic and restrictions on social gatherings. We're excited to be back and are so happy you have joined us this evening.
This is a special year for the Hall of Fame event. During the 3-year hiatus from social gatherings, the high school athletic department and the Fruitport Education Foundation joined forces to broaden the scope of the newly named Fruitport Hall of Fame. For the first time ever, Hall of Fame nominations were expanded from just athletics to anyone who has graduated from Fruitport schools, worked for Fruitport schools, or contributed to the greater good of Fruitport community schools. We are proud to recognize and celebrate individual and group achievements under the 3 new Hall of Fame categories of academic career accomplishments, athletic achievements, and service to Fruitport community schools. Tonight, we celebrate the inaugural class of outstanding individuals in each of the 3 categories.
6 amazing inductees will be honored this evening, including the gentleman who first started the Hall of Fame here in Fruitport a decade ago. We will hear their stories and learn how Fruitport schools have played an important role in each of their lives. We will also hear how Fruitport schools in our greater Fruitport community have benefited from these 6 individuals as well. Over the years, our inductees have earned many titles: rocket scientist, all-stater, champion, coach, board member and president, and athletic director. Tonight, though, we will add one more title to each individual: Hall of Famer. Before we get started with our ceremony, we'd like to take a moment to thank some special individuals and businesses that helped make this night a night to remember. Committee members, when I say your name, please stand up. First, we'd like to recognize and thank our Hall of Fame committee: Dave Hazekamp, Carrie Jacobs, Brooke Johnson, Jeannie McLean, Russ Swanson, Steve Wilson, John Winskus, Sarah Wojciechowski, Rocky Ybarra, myself, and our committee chairperson, Tina Vanderwall. These individuals committed countless hours of hard work, planning, communication, and research. Please give these members one more warm round of applause.
We would also like to thank Dave Loring and his daughter Kaylee, who are both Fruitport grads, for the video presentations we will see this evening. Each video, along with the promotional videos that were shared leading up to this event, were created by Dave Loring Video Productions. Dave and Kaylee are a dynamic team and do outstanding work with videotaping, splicing, editing, and putting all the pieces together to produce an amazing presentation. Thank you both for your time and talents. Lastly, we would like to recognize and thank the many sponsors who helped make tonight possible. Hooligans, Fruitport Orchard Market, the FCS Food Service Program, Teddy's Spaghettis, Culver's, Source One Digital, Johnson Auto Sales, Owen Ames Kimball, and Tower Pinkster. We encourage each of you to help support these local businesses throughout the year. Please give Dave Loring Video Productions and our sponsors a round of applause.
At this time, we'd like to introduce our MC for this evening, Tara Miller Hernandez. Tara is a 1999 Fruitport graduate who once told Roger Scudder, her high school media teacher, that she wanted to be a sports anchor one day. After graduating from Fruitport and Michigan State University with a bachelor's degree in journalism and a minor in Spanish, Tara went to work in Augusta, Georgia, becoming the first female sports anchor to work in that market. From there, she worked at Fox 17 in Grand Rapids and also spent time at ESPN working alongside some of the best sports anchors in the world. Tara left the journalism world in 2013 and has been working in media relations with stints at the Gerald R. Ford International Airport, Trinity Health, and currently she serves as Executive Communications Advisor for Kohl's Stores, where she supports the retailer's top executives in public relations and communications. Tara and her husband, Tony, a proud Marine Corps veteran, have a 3-year-old daughter, Haven, and a Labradoodle puppy. Please welcome back our very own Fruitport alum, Tara Hernandez.
Appreciate it. Thank you, guys. Always good to be back. Everybody, I can't see you guys right now because I have this giant light on me, but everybody was looking really good today, which is good for Fruitport. We washed our hair, took our showers, got our heels on. I haven't walked in boots in a really long time, so trying to balance myself up here a little bit, but I live in Grand Rapids now, and I always love coming back to Fruitport. I actually was just at Cozy Corners with my dad last week having breakfast, and I ran into somebody who is not a Fruitport grad, but they said, you know, you Fruitport kids, you guys, you're just like good community people, and you know, small town, you never get into any trouble. I'm like, little did you know. And it kind of got me thinking back of like, you know, I was a pretty good kid, but I remembered back in 4th grade, Mr. Haramo was our principal at Beach Elementary School. Yeah, Mr. Haramo. And I remember I was riding the bus home with Erica Lewis, another good Fruitport grad. She's a veterinarian now, doing awesome things. And I forgot my note on the kitchen table that my mom had written, you know, to say like, yeah, you can ride the bus home with Erica. And so 4th grade Tara was thinking, I got good penmanship. I can forge my mom's name. And Tara has permission to ride the bus home with Erica, and I brought it into Mrs. Essebagers, the school secretary, and I said, Miss Essebagers, I need a bus slip to ride the bus home with Erica today. And she said, oh, you do? I said, yeah. She said, did you get that note from your mom? I said, yeah, she gave it to me this morning, you know, and had on that face of, yeah, I wrote the note. And she goes, oh, that's funny because your mom just dropped the note off 15 minutes ago. And my mom's here, and she's like, I remember that story, right? I didn't tell her I was going to tell that tonight, but we live and learn, right? I never got in trouble again after that at all, right, Joe McKelly? Right, no trouble at all. But we do have a great group of the Fruitport community, the educators, the teachers, everyone who's here that supports this program. It's awesome to see so many wonderful people, and awesome to see this class of incredible inductees after our 2-year hiatus. So let's get started. First, we have James Munger. James spent his time balancing Fruitport athletics and academics throughout his years. He went on to Hope College, the University of Michigan, and upon graduating, he started to work. In 1993, he received his spacecraft controller flight certification. No big deal. He was mission operations lead for the Lunar Crater Observation and Sensing Satellite, or LCROSS. To put it this way, LCROSS was a satellite designed to discover water on the moon. We have a rocket scientist among us here at Fruitport. So, for his efforts, James received the NASA Honor Award and Popular Mechanics Magazine Breakthrough Award for Innovation in Science and Technology. To put it bluntly, he's pretty much out of this world. Here's more on James Munger.
When I was a student at Fruitport, I participated and competed in sports and academics. I owe a lot to the coaches like Al Shaw, freshman football and wrestling, and instructors like John Grossa, who is my drafting instructor, who drove me to do my best and taught me how to work with others, to compete individually as part of a team. There are a lot of different teachers and coaches. I can't name them all here. Classes like honors math and honors English placed me in an environment where I was competing against and teaming with the best students. The same could be said for football and track with the best athletes. The wrestling team was one of the best in the state and if not the country. Band, forensics, drafting had their own opportunities for individual and group competition, and I competed in them all. I was to learn later in life that the real takeaway was being able to work with people across all these disciplines and to be able to unite them in a common cause.
You know, honors math and honors English and those kind of classes together. So we shared a lot of pain, frustration, and, you know, suffered through the instruction together with some other friends.
We were part of the pilot honors math program. So essentially 4 years of math, one math class that extended over 4 years and got us through calculus.
When he talks about his work with me on these satellite missions, it's so clear to me that he's really enjoys being part of the team. And over the years, I've certainly heard him kind of move up the ranks, right, and get more and more leadership responsibility on these teams, which doesn't surprise me at all, because I think he's well suited for that.
Most men of our generation, we had old beat up cars when we were in high school, and like most of us, Jim spent a lot of time working on his car to keep it running. And I do feel that hands-on experience, that understanding of machines and devices at a very basic level is I'm sure is helpful to Jim in his work.
So my learning outside of Fruitport started with earning a Bachelor of Arts in Science at Hope College. One of my fraternity brothers announced in our weekly meeting that the company he worked for had a drafting problem they could not solve. I was able to design and manufacture the proximity cover for the Bell and Howell Tugger using skills I picked up from Mr. Gross's drafting class. So nobody at that company could do it, but I did it using stuff I learned in Mr. Gross's class. So at the University of Michigan, for my Master's of Science in Mechanical Engineering, my research project was to determine the mode shapes, how a system vibrates. And we used the violin as the item that we were going to study. So I was recruited from the University of Michigan by TRW. I really got into computer graphics programming, and everything that I did was self-taught. And I learned it well enough that I ended up teaching computer science at California State Dominguez Hills for 4 years. I moved on then to spacecraft operator training. So I literally learned how to fly a spacecraft and how to be the system controller. I started my career with NASA working on the LCROSS program. NASA had contracted Northrop Grumman to build the LCROSS mission and fly it to the moon. So we came up with using the secondary booster, the Centaur, as a projectile, and we would guide it to the moon, and we would impact in a crater on the South Pole, in particular the Cabeus crater. The flash would show us whether or not water was available in that crater. The interesting thing about the craters in the South Pole of the moon is they're dark all the time, one of the coldest places in the universe. And they act as a cold sink for any OH molecules that might happen to impact and recirculating the moon, let's say from asteroid or other piece of material. So my part on the LCROSS mission I was a systems engineer, and then eventually I took over the mission operations manager position. During the mission, we had what was called a single event upset. Okay, a cosmic ray hit the computer at the wrong time and caused it to lose lock with the input device for the rates. And it switched over and was picking up the rate information from the star tracker. And this caused it to burn just oodles of fuel. And within a short time, we had to redesign the dynamic response of the spacecraft, redesign how it used the fuel, and then we had to monitor it 24/7. During the impact of the Centaur, I had the fortunate opportunity to have my son present next to me. It was a big event. We had astronauts joining the scene with us. And it was a very special opportunity for me to accomplish something and have my son there along with me when we accomplished it. I did a lot of studies for NASA, funded by NASA. And one of those studies in particular was the Next Generation Space Relay Study. Now that looked at upgrading the TDRS program for all the future uses for NASA. And that includes around the Earth, around the Moon, and Mars. Had the opportunity to help a small program providing a demonstration to DARPA, the R3D2 program. And I designed their satellite payload structure, and I acquired the spacecraft for them. For the NASA Argonaut program, I used what I had picked up working with the small sat community, R3D2, and I used a similar small sat, matter of fact, the same small sat for NASA Argonaut. Now, the Argonaut program is very interesting in that the idea here is using 3D printing in space. What useful thing can you do with 3D printing in space? We print the white beam that is extending out, and the rest of it is a flexible solar array material that reels out like a Venetian blind. The pictures next to it there, the one side fully extended and the other side fully extended. So we're talking 50 feet of solar array, which is phenomenal and unobtainable from the ground. So you have to actually build those in space. And we teamed up with the University of Michigan and Sandia National Laboratories to create a spacecraft that would generate electricity using a Brayton engine, which kind of like an inverted jet engine. So we collect sunlight, it heats up the solar collector, and then heats up a fluid, and that is used to generate electricity.
I told Jim once, or I asked him once, do you get up in the morning and pinch yourself and remind yourself you're working on the space program? He assured me he does.
Jim, congratulations. I understand you're the very first winner of the academic award in the Fruitport Hall of Fame, and I think that's terrific and well-deserved. And I'm very happy and excited for you, and glad to add my words of appreciation and friendship to my congratulations to you for this honor.
So Jim, congratulations on being named to the Fruitport Hall of Fame for a second time. So I'm not sure if anyone else has done that, to be inducted twice, but really, that's quite an honor, and you've earned it and deserve it.
Advice I would have for Fruitport high school students is, one, you can do it. Okay, I did. I came from Fruitport. Okay. 2, challenge yourself. Okay, put yourself into situations that are hard. Okay, and along with that, surround yourself with people that challenge you and people that will help you. Okay, and lastly, put yourself into situations that you are going to learn something. Okay, I did that throughout my career, and it has paid off with great dividends.
I told you guys. I told you he's out of this world, literally. Please welcome our first inductee, James Munger.
Wow, not a lot to say after that awesome video. They really did a lot and put a lot together in a very short time, so kudos to them. A few other call outs I would like to make that didn't make the video. Of course, I did mention Coach Al Shaw. He was really a driving force in my life while I was here at Fruitport High School. Coach Holden, I know you're out there, you too. John Grossa, I learned so much in his class. And when I walked out into my first career, I didn't have to know anything from college. I just used what I had learned from his class. It was fantastic. Okay, and then I built on it from there. Okay, so kudos to John Grossa. Okay, it was amazing. The first 3 years I had John Grossa, he seemed like a real, military kind of driving guy. And when we finally got into architectural drafting, he's like this normal person. I love you, Mr. Grossa. I know you're out there somewhere. He couldn't be here, but good on you. So another shout out is to Dave Hofecker, the principal at the time. He was a great guy, and I learned a lot from him in a short time, and he looked after me when it was necessary. So I really appreciate that. Okay, so thanks to the committee for selecting me for this. I am really happy we did the thing last night with the football team and announced this whole program in front of the stands to all the people. What's really important about this is that the kids know. So thank you so much for getting it out to the kids. I really appreciate it. Okay? And one last thing. I mentioned to Sarah that I had something that I was going to present to the school. So before they give me my plaque, okay, Tina, come out here, please. Oh, you're going to like it. Because there ain't that many of these in the whole world, okay? Now, you probably can't see this. Can y'all see that? What this is, a little plastic globe, and in it are little metal flakes, okay? It is a custom when we design a new spacecraft at Northrop Grumman that we collect shavings from the first build, okay? So these are shavings from L-Cross, okay? From the cylinder that housed L-Cross, okay? So I want to present this to the school to keep as momentum of this day.
Congratulations. The little swag bag here for you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thanks, folks.
Everybody else has to follow this now, right? No pressure, no pressure. It's a big night for the Erny family tonight. We're going to start with Mindy Erny Aker. She set the bar high for goalkeepers at Fruitport High School, all conference, all district, all state, all everything. Mindy holds the school records for most shutouts and career goals against. She was named All-State Academic as well in 2003 and was also given the high honor of Female Student Athlete of the Year in 2003. Mindy went on to play soccer at the collegiate level at Cornerstone University, where she was doing more all things, all region, all conference, and an All-American honorable mention, which is a big deal. Mindy holds the Cornerstone University goalkeeper record for career wins, saves, and shutouts. And she went on to graduate from Cornerstone University and then coached in the NAIA National Tournament. Here's more on Mindy Erny Aker.
Mindy has always had a calmness about her, and that's what I like to say is her superpower, which really helped her back in goal. She stayed calm under a lot of the pressure that she had to take, and her teammates always viewed her as probably a great leader, encourager.
She just loved each one of our teammates on and off the field unconditionally, and she was a phenomenal teammate. I remember when I injured myself in a preseason game, and I came off the field, and everyone knew it wasn't very good, and I remember Mindy had tears because she was just heartbroken for me, because that was just the type of person she was. She was just so caring and poured her heart out to everyone.
When she had to do her goalie drills and stuff, I mean, she was dirty, she was muddy, she was working hard, and then she did all the stuff with our team as well, the regular stuff that we did. So I think Mindy really went above and beyond and was just very dedicated, very hardworking, and she was positive. She had a lot of positive energy.
Yeah, I've been playing soccer since I was a little tyke. My parents taught me that I used to just run around with my elbows out in case anyone dared to try to take me on. I loved being a part of a team and being plugged in soccer, and then I loved getting to go on my own a little bit in tennis and challenge myself and kind of be the master of my own fate there. So it was the best of both worlds. I played soccer since I was little, and then I continued all the way through 4 years of college soccer, and then that was it. And then I started coaching. I think I've coached just about every age group available. All throughout my career, I just feel like I had these incredible humans that were willing to give their time and their energy to really invest in me and my teammates.
Mindy and I got to do something I've never got to do with another student athlete. For like 3 or 4 years, Mindy and I spent 20 to 25 minutes together every day just doing goalkeeper training.
He brought a lot of energy to the table, and he would come up with some pretty interesting drills. My skills as a goalkeeper were not as much as I would snatch the ball out of the upper 90 before it went in. It was more about organizing my defense in a way that worked for everyone so we didn't get scored on. So that was my superpower. So Coach Koblak knew this. So he one day wanted me to work on my extension dives, and he decided to use and take my beloved sweeper, defender, and also the coach's daughter, Jamie Hewlings, and have her lay down on her arms and her knees and create like a human barricade. And I had to shuffle, jump over Jamie, the human barricade, catch the ball in the proper technique, and then gracefully fall to the ground on the other side. And again, extension dives, not really my thing. And so I came home that night thinking, wow, I had like jumped so high over Jamie every time. And I came home and I'm taking off my cleats, and I realized I had bruises up and down my legs. I looked like a Dalmatian because I had chosen to like cleat myself to make sure that I didn't, keep Jamie from walking the next day. So
One of the most memorable moments I have with Mindy is when we were at the Romeo tournament and we were in the championship game. We were tied at the end of regulation, went into a shootout. We were still tied after there was 9 shooters. We were going up on our 10th. And again, I had to have a little meeting with Mindy and just ask her what she's thinking. It was her choice. Either she could take a shot, but if she did, make it or miss it, she still had to go back and goal and save the next goal. And she just looked at me again and just said, Jean, I can do this. And she went in goal and we ended up winning.
She used to do this thing where she would find, before each game, she would find her favorite Bible verse, whether it be like applied directly to that game or just something that she thought was motivational or whatever. And we'd all get in a huddle and she would read us the Bible verse, and we'd all listen and maybe say a little thing, and then we'd all get really, really excited and amped up for the game. And she kind of set that tone before every single game just to bring us together and then to get us pumped up. And I remember that distinctively about Mindy.
Well, Mindy was a player that I talk about often with players even today, because Mindy was the starting goalkeeper for our team for 3 years, has a lot of records at Cornerstone, and her senior year, another goalkeeper ended up being the starter. So Mindy became the backup. And I just think Mindy probably exemplifies what a teammate is all about, because she still supported the team wholeheartedly and did everything she could, even though she wasn't playing.
Even though I was not thrilled to lose my spot, Coach Strauser had a really difficult and correct decision to make in putting this sophomore goalkeeper at the helm. She led us to our first berth in the national tournament, which I also got to be part of.
And I still remember vividly sitting in my office, and she came in and she just said, "I just want to make sure I'm making a difference." And I looked her back and I said, "Mindy, you don't know what kind of difference you're making."
It proved to me that I found a way to come every day, push my teammates, use my voice, use everything inside of me to bring it for my team. And they in turn recognized that at the end of the season, which some people would scoff at that, like, no bench player is going to get most valuable player. But it was just something that shaped me as a person. It shaped me as a coach, because now as a coach, I understand so much better what every single player might be going through, whether they're starting, whether they're sitting, how that psychologically works. To this day, that's my most proudest accomplishment. The last thing I want to say too is that this year in the Hall of Fame, my father is being inducted, and I think that's so special. I don't even know if I have words for it at the moment, especially not on camera, but to get to do this for him, with him, I know this is part of his legacy with Fruitport schools. I just think it's the coolest thing from a daughter standpoint, from a player standpoint, but also just from the community. The community has supported my family like I didn't know was possible. And so what this means to be inducted, it's great, it's phenomenal. Like I said before, getting honored or recognized for getting to play a game in which a bunch of adults created a safe space for you to just go out and enjoy is just a privilege. But to see years later the community rally around my dad, who's struggling with an ALS diagnosis, and it's been incredible. I stood alongside a lot of my previous coaches building a house for my parents this past year, and I'll tell you what, coaches really show up. And years later, it's been a phenomenal ride, and I appreciate being honored in this way and staying connected to this community in this way. But even without an award for playing soccer or a recognition for playing soccer, I think I would love to get in front of a camera and say thank you to this community.
Our first inductee for athletic achievement and our second inductee of the night, Mindy Erny.
Good evening. All of a sudden I can't see anything either. To my fellow inductees, what a privilege it is to share this night with you. Follow a speech from rocket science, they said. It'll be fun, they said. Soccer gave me an identity and a community growing up. That's the magic of sports. It continues to create a community in my life. Nowadays, it looks less like me defending the goal and more like getting to coach and enjoy my foster kids, playing soccer or picking up a ball to juggle with some refugee kids, but I wouldn't trade that for anything. To my family, my wife and kids, siblings and nibblings, thank you for being here tonight. To the coaches and teammates who are here or who gave their time to say kind things on film, thank you for that incredible gift. Special thanks to the Hall of Fame committee for the distinct honor of sharing this night with my dad. That's something I'll cherish for as long as I have memories in my body. To my parents, Ken and Lori Erny, it is a privilege to be your daughter. My character is built on the foundation you set for me. I'm loyal like my mother and compassionate like my father. I'm half feisty and half full of dad jokes. We are flawed, but we are held up together in love. So thank you again for this honor. Enjoy the evening, and go Blue.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Whew, already getting emotional tonight. It'll be a big night. Our next inductee, Rex Malarik, was a member of the Trojan football team all 4 years, from 73 to 77. At center and outside linebacker, he was All-State his senior year. He was also a 4-year letterman on the swim team and played baseball for Fruitport. Rex went on to attend Alma College, where he played football all 4 years at center and offensive guard, then went on to Michigan State University. Rex continued his football career later in life by becoming a varsity football coach at South Lyon East High School, giving back in his community. Here's more on Rex Malarik.
So, my folks were just, always kind of active. My mom's family was very talented. My grandfather was the first 4-year letterman at Muskegon Heights High School. And my mom was invited to tryouts for the Women's Professional Baseball League the year they folded, unfortunately. So there's talent on that side. And my dad's side, I'm a third-generation immigrant in that sense. Both my grandparents came over, they met, they married, they raised their kids through the Depression. So they were the classic stoic determination kind of family. And that's where I get my obstinance from, I think. So they said, well, we got to do something with this kid. And so they started getting me into Little League baseball, Little League football. So, that was kind of a motivation. My dad said I was a real klutz. So he got me into, said, well, karate would be a good thing because it's balance and all that stuff. So we got into that too. And, my family in general, we were always out to Lake Michigan because my dad had a boat and, he just loved the water. So we were always swimming. So kind of naturally became a swimmer in that sense because I didn't swim competitively until middle school. The coach at that point in time said, hey, you swim pretty good. Why don't you come out and, see what you can do? And so that's how I got involved there.
Well, we swam on the same swim team, right? So it was a boys and girls, but we always went to the meets together. And so we were always competing for who got the most records and who did best that day.
They asked me to come in and play quarterback after somebody got hurt. And so Rex was the center. And you didn't have to do a lot. Rex pretty much handled it. He could make anybody look good. And he was a really intelligent guy, very mistake-free, just consistent. He helped me get through algebra. And besides being a great center, he was an excellent tutor.
Again, as a teammate, he had the most infectious belly laugh. He was not the most gregarious person on the team, but when somebody cracked jokes, he has this beautiful, joyful laugh that makes you smile every single time.
We were working hard, but we were always harassing each other, teasing. And I remember one time after a big rainstorm, we came out to, it rained that day and we're going out to practice and there's these great big puddles and Joe DeGraves just gets this look in his eye and you instantly know what's going to happen. He takes off running and he just, swan dives into this thing and slides about 20 yards. And then all of a sudden, I can't remember who was following him. It's like, okay, off we go.
We were out having fun and we were power braking my dad's car and we blew the engine up and the rod went right through the oil pan and I didn't want my dad to know that that's what happened. So Rex pushed the car probably about 4 blocks. And then I called my dad and said, hey, I don't know what happened to this thing, Pops, but it just died on us. But no, Rex was the guy, and he sat there with a straight face and was an ace. And I changed the motor in the car. Everybody was happy. But he was a soldier. He was the kind of guy that you would, if you were in a foxhole, Rex is the kind of guy you want there with you.
I felt I was very lucky in the caliber of the character of the people that coached me. Coach Shaw, Coach Carlson and JV, and then Coach Holden and Thompson and Borma and Heb were the varsity coaches that I played under, and I felt really well supported in the sense that they didn't just sit there and coach you and they weren't tyrants. They were working you hard, but it was to make you better. I had the desire to try and get into the Air Force Academy. Coach Thompson wrote a letter of recommendation for me, and I saw the recommendation letter that he wrote, and it was just, I was moved. I didn't realize how much he understood his players and the kids that he worked with. And I went on to college. I had a really good offensive line coach my freshman year, Coach Klink, the Colonel, for obvious reasons. He was just always out there, always in your face. Come on, Malarik, you can do this. Because he always had a little stub cigar going, and he's in your face. But it's just it was great working with those guys, and those were the kinds of things that when I got the opportunity to coach, I jumped right into it. At first it was just the age group for my son, but then I got asked to step in because the high school was opening a second high school, and they asked if I could coach at the new high school, and I jumped at that with 2 feet, and I'm really glad I did, because that was, as much fun and enjoyment out of playing and the achievements I was able to get, coaching some of those kids were the best moments. I worked at Ford for, like I said, 22 years when I was really proud of what I did there. I was a research engineer, then I was a product engineer, then I became a development engineer. We launched the 2002 Explorer program, and it was really well received, and the accolades that it received for the noise and quietness is what I worked on. I was an N&V engineer there.
He made very, very few mistakes. And he was so humble. I didn't even know that he was All-State his senior year. He never said anything to me about it. I never asked. I was so caught up in me that I never asked at that time in my life. But and he's not the kind of guy that would ever ring the bell and say, "Look at me, look at me." And it's good that you're honoring him, because those are the kind of leaders that you really want to honor.
He was just a great big brother. He is so deserving of this award. I couldn't be more proud of him, and it's so deserving. Like I said, he is so dedicated to his team and his family, and even though we live like 1,000 miles apart now, I know that if I needed him, he would drop everything and be here in a second. He's that kind of guy, and I think that made him a great teammate for his football players.
Our second athletic achievement inductee of the night, Rex Malarik.
graceful. This karate class has paid off. I was going to talk from notes, but it seems like they were covered in the video, so it's like, I'm not sure what we're going to talk about now. But I do feel very humbled, very honored. The people that are in this, come on, good. I'm glad I got the notes. I mean, I am very honored to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. The people that are in there are just intimidatingly great. I played 4 years with Jim on my left side, I think it was. And, you know, I knew he was a sharp guy, but he gets to play with rocket ships. Holy cow. As I said, I mean, was anybody that's played a team sport and got singled out for something, they know it's not them. It is all the work of the coaches, all the support from the parents, just, and just as important, your teammates. Shuffle the notes here real quick. I played the game because I liked it. We played, you know, hard for the coaches and things like that. But what really made it go was the relationships with the coaches, of the players, and the bonds that develop over time. You don't spend 3 months, 4 months, just working your butts off just because it's fun. The results are fun, but it's just a goal that everybody works toward. The coaches were awesome. I felt I had better coaching in high school than I did in college, and those guys weren't slouches either. 8th grade, they installed the offense that we would run for the next 4 or 5 years. Coach Shaw, Coach Meemaw, they taught us the value of mental toughness, all under the guise of how two-a-days are so much fun. I still don't understand what he meant when we was walking around saying, pain's the purifier, and I'm not sure I really want to. The JV coaches, Coach Christopher and Coach Coach Carlson, were outstanding. They worked on our techniques, honed us, and, you know, we became much better execution. Yeah, we executed much better because of that. One thing I thought was kind of poignant was that they took the statistics and recorded them all year, and we'd get a copy of them on Monday morning, you know, and we could see where we were improving, where we needed to improve, where we got yards, where we didn't get yards from an offensive standpoint, how many tackles, who got them, where they were at. And so we knew what we were going to be doing the next week in practice. You know, it was enlightening at that point. And then the varsity coaches, like I said, I think I got coached better in high school than I did in college, and, you know, they were phenomenal. Coach Holden, Coach Thompson, Coach Hebb, and Coach Borma. They knew what they were doing. They knew how to make you successful, and they worked us hard. They taught us the value of working hard, working together with all those guys and the relationships we built. I mean, that's what drove us. When I called Chris, I hadn't talked to him in almost 30 years, but the bonds you build with those guys is enduring. We called him up, we started chatting for about half an hour. I told him, please lie, say lots of nice things about me, you know? And he did. Last night at the game, when I ran into Jim, after we got introduced at halftime, we sat down and talked like a couple old biddies about gossiping about the neighborhood, and we just talked through the whole second half. It was like, I hadn't seen him since graduation. Last night was like graduation plus 1 day. You know, it's just those bonds are just so strong if you build them. And there's so many guys that we played with that, you know, were working just as hard and enabled everything we did. You know, I could sit here and name 90 guys that I played with through high school here that, you know, were just incredible. I'm not sure what to say in terms of just how satisfied with the guys I played with. They were just outstanding. I would, where'd it go, Brandon? You play the game because you like it. You play hard because you want to succeed for your friends, and you play hard, work hard that way. I'm not real sure what to add to this because it was kind of taken away here, and I don't have enough time to finish all this. But I would say thank you very much. I'm very humbled, and I'm very honored to be part of this. This is pretty neat. This is pretty amazing. I hope it continues on. Thank you very much.
Not used to this.
Thank you.
Can't forget your goodies. All right, I think the Fialek and McKelly family bought like half the tickets for tonight, with good reason. Good reason, though, yeah. Brandi Fialek McKelly was a 4-year varsity starter for Fruitport girls soccer, all state, all area. She helped lead the Fruitport girls soccer program to many successes, including regional semifinals in 2004, conference championship and district finals in 2005. Brandi also earned academic all-state honors in 2004 and 2005. Her soccer career was disrupted when she injured both ACLs. But guess what? Like a true Fruitport girl, bounced back, persevered, kicked butt, and did her thing. She went on to Ferris State University. She's now a registered nurse, giving back to her community. Just an awesome woman. Here's more on Brandi Fialek McKelly.
So I started playing soccer super young, like 4 years old. My Aunt Jeannie, who many people know, Jeannie McLean, she kind of sparked my interest in soccer. She started coaching. She's been coaching me on and off since then. But started at 4 years old, and it's gonna make me sound older than I am, but there wasn't really girls soccer at that time. You had to play with the boys. There was co-ed, but then as you got older, you played with the boys. Changed as I got a little bit older into middle school, but when I was little, I was always playing with the boys. They were always beating me up.
Made her tougher. I think we toughened her out. I think
she thrived in that environment. That's why I describe her as feisty.
I think
she had no choice. But
yeah, for sure. I think she
she
appreciated us not. I think she would have been like upset if we didn't like go hard at her.
Exactly. Yep.
When Brandi was younger, she would call me up in the summer or on the weekend and just say, "Aunt Jeannie, are the boys outside?" I said, "Yes, they are." And she would be over and they would spend hours. They had different games that they played. There's a tree game that I know nothing about, but they spent hours playing it. I don't know the rules, but I'm sure that there was some kind of consequence if you lost.
Even if I won at tree ball, I was getting the ball kicked at me or I was getting chased down, and they used to they would pin me down and make me eat olives because I hated olives and stuff.
But Brandi and a couple of the girls would always be the first ones at practice and the last ones to leave because they would shoot corner after corner after corner so that they can get head balls in there, because on high school, they got the head balls and they got a pizza party. So that was always their goal. But she was always a silent leader because of her work ethic. And having Brandi not only as my niece, but as a player, I've just always been so proud and admired what she did.
She played the most challenging position in the center of the field. And she did it with amazing apparent ease. It's so challenging, and she made it look easy, and I loved watching her battle. I think that's the sign of a Hall of Fame player, that you can do something that everyone else finds difficult, and you make it look easy, even though it's not.
But the thing that always stuck out to me is how persistent she was at getting something right. And no matter if you gave her praise that she did it right, she would not agree with you. There was another level or notch or edge of perfection that Brandi could get. And it was funny because Brandi and Lindsay and my daughter Jamie, we would go to, they would help me in my summer camps, and I would go and take them, and they would coach the kids. And Brandi would hold the same standard of excellence to the little kids we were coaching. And you almost had to say, Brandi, ease up just a little bit. They're just little kids.
I think something that set Brandi apart from other teammates, I can remember like showing up to practice or games, and other girls would be talking about boys or drama or things going on, and Brandi showed up to play. She had on her Nike shorts, and she didn't care what was going on around her. She was there to play, and she was there to play hard.
Whether it was soccer or friendship or family, Brandi was constant. She was a constant teammate, meaning she was always on your side. If something went wrong on the field, she was there. If you needed somebody to have your back, I always like to think we had this kind of like secret messaging without having to say anything. If I knew Brandi was making the run, like I knew exactly where she was gonna go with it, and I feel like she knew where I was gonna go with it. So I think that was kind of a secret weapon, I guess, if you will, for her and I. We had played in tournament in like Petoskey and Canton and Romeo, and we were always a good team. We always could compete, but there's so many times where we just were left that much short, and we so badly wanted it. And that Romeo one where it came down to this shootout and we won, it's like, success. And we climbed on top of somebody's truck or somebody's car or a van or something, and we all had pictures. And
the memories we had in there, we'd all pile in and just sing.
I remember going to 3-on-3 tournaments. We would try to come up with a team name, and we would make shirts the night before the tournament. We would all get together. We would, that's where Team Affliction came up, which is kind of a memory of ours. That was what we called our team.
I think it was their freshman year. In practice, Lindsay went down with a torn ACL. In the first scrimmage, Brandi went down with a torn ACL. In the first game, Jamie went down with a torn ACL. So here I had probably what would be the best trio of high school girls soccer players for the whole season on crutches sitting there. And the frustration for all three of them was just huge.
But again, I felt what she at least showed, to us and to her teammates was, it's okay. It's kind of a battle I'm going to overcome. And I felt like I was in tears. I was devastated. I was like, this is it. It's done. And again, Brandi just was this steady, constant kind of light stating, it's fine. We'll make it through it. It's a bump in the road. It sucks, but hey, it's fine.
And she worked hard to recover, to regain strength, and to get back. In her junior year, she was able to come back and start and play another 2 years, making All-State for 2 years, being injured most of her senior year, which a lot of people didn't know. But she just overcame a lot, and I just want to let her know that I'm so proud of her.
I've coached for almost, 30 years, and that's hundreds of athletes, and I can safely say and truthfully say that if I were to count the top athletes I've ever coached, Brandi's name comes up rather quickly. She's got a piece of my heart, like a lot of athletes do. It's a good piece of my heart. So she's one of my most fondest memories of coaching for a long time, especially 20 years at Fruitport.
Brandi, congratulations. You are the epitome of an athlete, and I've always admired the way that you are as a person, and nobody deserves this award better than you.
Thank you. This is such a cool honor. I am like I said, all my favorite memories involve soccer. So it's so cool to be, to have your achievements and your hard work acknowledged.
Her family is going to get loud, right? Her family's going to be loud. Let's welcome Brandi Fialek McCallie.
Yeah, it's bright up here. Thank you guys so much. If you can't tell, we were not able to watch those videos before this, so trying to pull my life together here for a second. But starting with the video, thank you so much to everyone that participated and had kind words to say and fun memories and blast down memory lane. As you can tell, I've had some of, hands down, the best coaches and teammates anyone could ever ask for. Coach Hillings and Jeannie McLean. And then, as Rex said, you know, when you're a part of a team sport, it feels kind of silly to be up here by yourself. So thank you to my teammates, Jamie and Lindsay, who you can see we've been through a lot together with injury and came back. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you guys. Soccer is something I poured my heart and soul into. I loved it more than anything. So to be acknowledged and honored for your hard work, but also something you love so much is absolutely amazing. And then to be sharing a night like this with people like Coach Erny and Mindy, it just brings it to a whole other level. So I can't stress enough how honored I am by this. And as Tara said, I have a ton of friends and family that showed up for me tonight to embarrass me a little and also support me. So I always have had and continue to have been blessed with the best support system anyone could ever have. So I love you guys from the bottom of my heart and thank you. And last but not least, I've always felt loved and supported by the Fruitport community, whether it be on the field, playing soccer, academically, my kids go there now. I've always felt that support, so I'm not just saying it when I say that I think that this Fruitport community is something truly special and something to be proud of. And so it means the world to me that you guys brought me into this. So I almost held it together. I hope everyone, thank you to the committee, and most importantly, go Blue.
There are gift cards to Kohl's in there. Just kidding. It's not. Just kidding. I'll work on it for next year. Moving on to service to Fruitport Community Schools, Betty Kinney started serving Fruitport with the district as Shuttler PTA, being on the PTA. Betty went on to the Board of Education for 31 years, serving as trustee, secretary, and president of the board, a title she held for 21 consecutive years. Some of the many accomplishments the board achieved during Betty's reign include the passage of a tough election, millage and bond campaigns, development of strategic plans and putting them into action, and hiring some amazing staff, many of whom are still here today. After completing her service on the board in December of 2014, Betty continued volunteer work as a member of the facilities community and helped pass the bond campaign that secured the beautiful new high school building. Betty gave 31 years of amazing service to this community. Here's more on Betty Kinney.
When I think of Betty Kinney, I think of 4 different words. They come to mind. It's faith, family, friends, and Fruitport. So I kind of, like the 4 F's.
Being a new superintendent in a school district can be a really nerve-wracking thing, and I met with my predecessor, Nick Siglarik, and he told me, Bob, it's going to go great because you've got Betty. And he was absolutely right.
I think that she was always informed. She was a very smart, and I think the other thing that I really appreciated about Betty, she was a very patient person. With new board members or anyone that came into the community, came into the board meetings, she was just a very patient person and always really willing to listen to them and their point of view.
She probably was the most respected and well-liked board member that Fruitport's ever had. The staff, when I was teaching, always respected Betty, and when she came into the building, they didn't get intimidated or anything about the fact that she was there. She was there more as a parent and a supportive person.
I have always had an interest in education. Growing up, my mother was very involved in the school, and I can remember her selling Jell-O, and that was one of the fundraisers when I was in elementary school. And she helped with talent shows, and she did a lot of things around the school and instilled in my brother and I the importance of education and an equal education for all children. So I took it from there. I think it was instilled in me from day one. And my husband and I, we were not, of course, not married at the time. We went to Muskegon Community College, and we met there at college, and he finished, and we were engaged, and at that time, if you think back, they didn't have a lot of student loans, so we wanted to get married and move down to Western. So we did that. We went to Kalamazoo right after we were married, and we were there for 3 years, and he got his degree there in aeronautical engineering. And I got my degree in what they called PHT, which is put hubby through. So that's what I did for 3 years. So we came, from there we moved to Pennsylvania for a while, where we both worked at Piper Aircraft, and eventually moved back here where he started working for Teledyne. We moved to Fruitport after we had 2 of our 3 children. And I remember back then moving in and saying, I'll stay here while the children are through elementary school, but then we're going to move somewhere else for the children. Well, we had our 3rd child there, and about the 4th year we were into the starting school. They were starting school, and boy, I tell you what, my attitude changed about Fruitport schools. I got involved as a parent in the parent-teacher club, and I volunteered in the classrooms as much as I could. And when my 3rd child, and all 3 were at Shetler School at the time, the superintendent at that time was Dan Bird, and the principal was Dave Kohlberg. And they asked me if I would do a 2-day seminar with some of the staff and then present it to the board. So I did that. And then there was an opening on the board, and I was appointed after interviewing. And then the next year, that was in 1983, and the next year, 1984, I ran for the board and was elected and jumped in with both feet at that point. Some of my favorite things that I remember about being on the board was, of course, the graduation of my 3 children. I was lucky enough and blessed enough to be able to give them their diplomas. And not every time, but a couple times for the last 2, I believe I gave the address as president. I was on as a trustee and then as a secretary. And in 1993, I became president and served for 21 years in that capacity consecutively until I retired in 2014. I love to visit the schools, And I was blessed enough to be able to do that during the day. And so I tried to visit the classrooms, I tried to get to know the staff, attend special programs that the students put on. I wanted to be more than a board member that came to a meeting a month and a special meeting for their committee a month. I wanted to be a board member that was involved in the whole school. And so I tried to do that.
She oftentimes would come and visit the school, and anything that was going on, such as March's Reading Month, she would come and participate in that. She participated in Make It, Take It. We would have our classroom set up with projects at Christmas time, and Betty would come early, and then she would set up the stations in the different classrooms, and then she would help the kids with whatever project. And then Betty always stayed and put away the materials when we took the kids to lunch. And so she was always, always very supportive of the staff and the students.
We were being pressured by some community members to raise some of the wages of some of our transportation staff. We had a meeting in the middle school. It was in the library. It's very well attended. And people were giving us some good feedback as to why we think we should raise wages for some of these folks. And I'll never forget this with Betty, but I mean, one of the gentlemen that spoke up in support of us and saying that we needed to pay these people more was one of the people that had always consistently challenged the school board on spending too much money. And I called him out on that. And I just said, you know, I'm not going to say the name, but I called him out and I just said, you know, you're one of the people that's always saying that we're spending too much money. And then I got it. I got the Betty kick under the table. And I just like, whoa, I'd never gotten that before. And she kicked me under the table. And I thought, uh-oh. I wasn't more afraid of the audience or if I had done something to offend Betty. Well, after the meeting was done, she told me, she said, well, you shouldn't have said that. But she said, I'm really glad you did.
Betty was truly an inspirational leader. When Betty spoke, people listened. All of the commencement speeches that she gave an opening day speech every year to the entire staff. And she just had this way about her that made you feel comfortable and confident, and you knew that she held high standards for the organization and for everybody's performance. And she did it in a way that was really down to earth. In fact, I remember at one graduation speech, she quoted a line from a song by Smash Mouth, where she gave the students her finger and said, hey now, you're an all-star, get your game on, go play.
She's a whistler, and I can't even whistle at all. And so every time, or so often, she'll just break out in whistling. And sometimes she doesn't even know she's doing it.
Betty was a band parent for 14 years, and when her 3 and my 2 kids were in band together, we were band parents. And it was a lot of work, but it was a lot of fun too. Betty had a really fun rapport with the kids, and it was a very easy rapport with the kids. They really liked her and respected her a lot.
Betty cared deeply about the school district, about the staff, but mostly she cared deeply about the children. There was not a decision that went through the Board of Education under Betty's leadership that was not intended to be in the best interest of the children. And I think one of Betty's greatest goals for the school district was to get a new high school. And Betty retired before that happened, but she played a huge role in the Yes for Fruitport's Future Committee in getting this high school built.
We had some from our other committee say, well, this is good enough. Students can learn in a pole barn. But when you have 600 to 800 students going through 5 days a week, that pole barn wears out. The latest facilities committee went about it in a different way. They moved into our district as younger parents, and they knew the needs, and they knew what they wanted for their children. And it was successful, as you can see.
I know that it was one of her proudest achievements, and I think that over the course of her career as board president, she laid the foundation for this building to happen, and she's laid the foundation through her leadership for the future of this district. And our community is really blessed to have had her leadership.
You know, Fruitport is very, very important to her. So nobody deserves this more. She's honest, dedicated, humble, and caring. She loves Fruitport and her community.
I called my Fruitport community schools, I call them my school family. And to be recognized for something I love doing seems unnecessary and overwhelming to me at times. It has been a privilege and an honor to be a spokesman and a community representative for Fruitport Community Schools.
Talk about incredible service to Fruitport Community Schools. Our first service inductee, Betty Kinney.
That was the best one, right back there.
Oh my, oh, this is bright. Okay, I hope I don't sound redundant because, you know, I got home and couldn't remember a thing I said. And so I I'm not one that memorizes everything, so I did print this out and sat down and wrote a little something out, and if you hear it twice, it'll have more impact. So, well, starting out, my goodness, I have to get my emotions under control. What a better place to be tonight for this event. It's so meaningful to be in this building and in this auditorium. For years, we had this vision and worked toward this outcome. Even when bond issues were defeated, the goal remained strong. We never gave up, and here we are. By the way, the vision continues. We're not done. I'm just overwhelmed and humbled to have been chosen for this honor. I can't express how much I appreciate having you here tonight. I'm so grateful for the years of support and understanding from my family, my husband Gary, who is my rock and stood beside me for the first 16 years, my 3 children, Stacy, Lisa, and Scott, who tolerated me and never seemed to mind that Mom was around school a lot, chaperoning trips and band camps and speaking at graduation ceremonies. I never heard, "Oh my gosh, she's here again." I could not ask for better friends, neighbors, and sorority sisters who have always had my back and helped me through elections. The Fruitport staff was such a pleasure to work with and for whom I have so much admiration. And of course, the work of the Hall of Fame Committee, thank you. Every person you meet or work with somehow influences and changes your life. Remember that old saying, it takes a village? Well, I have worked with wonderful Fruitport staff and board members that do exactly that. So I started as a Shetler mom, and when the opportunity came along to be more of service, I knew what I needed to do. So it began. And in my tenure, I was part of the 3 basic board committees that we have, Finance, Student Affairs, and Personnel. I enjoyed Instructional Council, which gave me that opportunity to work with teachers and administrators revising curriculum and the addition of class offerings. The many years of Facilities Committee that has been mentioned with members from our community and administration. I attended all of them, and one was probably the longest. We probably set a record. We met over 2 years, probably twice a month, with members made up of yes and no voters before the decision was made what we could go for. Part of the board's job is to hire our superintendents, and one time we hired a Mona Shore superintendent as a temporary fill-in during our search. After working with FCS, Fruitport, he was quite impressed and told a group of us, and I quote him, "Fruitport Community Schools is a hidden gem," and how true that is. I've been fortunate to have worked with some wonderful, dedicated school board members. There is always some turnover, but thank goodness we also have continuity in what I will call, and don't take offense to this because I was one of you, the long haulers, who are knowledgeable, caring, and hardworking. Their hearts are in the right place. We also have had a variety of personalities on the board, even a few quirky ones. Example, one wanted to get rid of all the counselors because she said their suggestion of taking a deep, calming breath after recess was controlling their minds. Another very sweet lady on the board, at the graduation ceremony, when the board's handing out diplomas and congratulating the graduates at the ceremony, greeted each student with a hello, goodbye. So it's always good for a smile, and we have to keep our sense of humor. You've heard about some of my favorite things: graduation, being able to give my 3 children their diplomas, walking through the schools and seeing staff interact with students, and student presentations at board meetings, which showed us what was actually happening in the classroom. Listening to the introduction of new employees was started on beginning day, which was also one of my favorite times, when everybody was in one group, all staff and all employees, and they heard updates regarding the upcoming year, and I was able to include a welcome back to everyone. During one of these times, former Superintendent Bob Simoniak, along with a couple other staff members, sang a special song and played the accompaniment. He played a guitar and was in a band at one time. But you know, they never asked me to sing along or whistle. So it's been an honor to be a spokesman and a community representative for Fruitport Community Schools. What I have been able to give has been so rewarding and returned to me twofold. The work is far from over, but what has been accomplished through the years has made a difference in the lives of hundreds of students. And lastly, follow your passion. Take risks. Wear sunscreen. Oh, no, that's graduation. And speaking of graduation, most students take 13 years to graduate and move on. I took 31 years. And tonight I feel like I'm getting my diploma. I'm deeply moved by this recognition. I will be forever grateful. The important things in life are not things. Helen Keller said, "The best and most beautiful things in the world cannot be seen or even heard, but must be felt with the heart." Fruitport Community Schools has a place in my heart. My deepest thanks to all of you.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much.
You know, I know there are a lot of people who make tonight and make the Hall of Fame possible, but really we wouldn't be celebrating and doing this without Ken Erny. We started this in 2013, and he called me up and said, "Hey, Tara, would you come back and MC and do this event?" And I think I was still working at Fox 17 at the time, so he said, you know, we need a local celebrity to do this. And when I left TV, I said, you know, I'm not a celebrity anymore. I don't have to come back and do this. And I remember those first couple of years of the program going and the banquet, and Ken was always running around behind the scenes and making sure everything was good, and does this person have a last minute ticket? that's just how he is and who he is. He's always, you know, making sure that everybody has what they need. And he's Fruitport through and through. In 1990, Fruitport Community Schools hired Ken Erny to work full-time with their community education program. In addition, he was named coach of the high school's first soccer team. In 1996, he accepted the position as the school's athletic director, where he served up until his retirement in 2020. Ken Erny led the Trojan boys soccer team for 19 years, compiling a 242, 133, and 20 record with several trips to the regional finals. As Fruitport's athletic director, he oversaw the Trojans' first 3 state championship teams and a half a dozen individual state titleists. In June of this year, he was the recipient of the Muskegon Area Sports Hall of Fame Gene Young Service Award, but I have a feeling that tonight's award is going to be a little more special for him. Here's more on Ken Erny.
I came to Fruitport in 1978 when I was hired by Faith Christian School in Fruitport. I served there for 9 years, eventually worked on and got my master's during those years. But also as summertime wore on and there was opportunities to work in our community of Fruitport, I got to work with the tennis program. I got to start some community-based soccer and also got to work with youth basketball. One thing that comes to mind is the exemplary athletic program back in 2008. The No More Sidelines program that we brought to our soccer program. We were able to start something that's now spread all over West Michigan. After I was done coaching, I'm very happy with his assault program, where we could teach kids leadership skills, resilience skills, how to be better players and better citizens.
And I believe it was in 2008, he worked super hard at getting the school, Fruitport School, recognized as for the Athletic Achievement Award through the MHSAA, which is a really high honor.
He wanted the programs to be winners, like any AD would want, but he wanted more out of the kids that played for Fruitport and the coaches that coached. He wanted great young men and women to leave Fruitport High School and then have been an athlete here at Fruitport. And they've gone on to do some great things because of his leadership.
He leads teams, he led teams well. As a coach, he led the department well in athletics here at Fruitport for so many years. He led our family well.
And my dad is a huge influence on me as a player, of course, and as a coach especially. I still have handwritten notes from him that he would put in the margins of something and stick in a backpack or whatever for game day.
When I think of Ken, I think of the fruit of the Spirit. And if you know what that is, I love, joy, peace, kindness, goodness, long-suffering, meekness. He's just a very humble and gentle man.
I was fortunate enough to coach for 19 years, and Ken was the athletic director for all those times. And he was known for being encouraging and supportive of all the people that were around him. So I also had this unique situation where I had to take over his shoes. When he retired from coaching the boys soccer, I stepped in to coach, and people around town are like, oh, I wouldn't want to be the person that has to try to replace Ken. And oh, sure enough, they're talking about me, right? And it was challenging, but because Ken was still the athletic director, it made it easier. So he was encouraging and helpful and supportive, and I was glad to have him on my side.
I never saw Ken lose his temper, and I never saw him either lose his cool, where he didn't handle the situation very, very professionally. And really, you go in there and you're not, you got a bone to pick and you're not happy with the way something's going. And when you leave his office, you felt really good about going in there and talking to him.
I had torn my ACL during the soccer season and going through a little bit of personal struggles with that. And I can recall one day during halftime, I'm crutching my way over to the locker room and Mr. Erny pulls me aside. And we talked throughout the entire halftime of that soccer game, kind of talking about the struggles that I've been going through and more or less bringing me out of the mud was just super important to me and had a huge impact on the way I had the rest of the outlook on the rest of the season, the rest of my high school career, and what soon to be my college career.
I still remember being a player on the soccer field. I think I was a junior in high school, and the official ran over to the sideline and showed my dad a yellow card. And I just remember that distinctly to this day because it was so unusual to know that he was upset enough to where someone would be essentially scolding him.
One of the great things about Ken Erny is we had a great relationship where Ken would let me recruit players from the soccer team to kick for us on the football team, field goals and extra points. And I remember that Ken would get frustrated because after Friday night on the next week, kids would come back out for soccer and play in a game, and they were constantly kicking the ball over the net. And Ken had to finally tell them, okay, this is soccer, you go under the crossbar. Football, over the crossbar. And I thought that was just really funny. And Ken could have just told his kids, no, we don't want any, you guys to kick. But it was just great that Ken was willing to do that for our football program.
He put in a ton of hours. His day sometimes would start at 8 a.m. and be done potentially around 10. He would try to go to as many athletic events as he could.
But I remember driving by, and I swear every time I drove by, I would see his car here. And I'm like, this guy, does this guy ever go home,
When I was creating a presentation for the state conference for athletic directors about how you can't be two places at the same time. So Steve Hepler helped me create a video clip, and I had a cardboard Ken life-size supervisor type of a guy that was me, and we moved it in different locations, the basketball games or the press box.
When he was gone, I would just put him in Cardboard Ken in Ken's office, and people would walk by and say, hi Ken, good morning Ken. And I even had a custodian say once how hurt she was because Ken wouldn't respond to her after she was talking to him. I'm like, well, he's cardboard.
You got to have something to laugh at in what I would call, which was often a high pressure job. And I love to see people smile, and in spite of ourselves, we can laugh at ourselves, which is a great asset to our job.
And since his diagnosis with ALS, being a part of this on a daily basis with him, I've learned more about him through this process than I knew before, just with those qualities we talked about earlier, but also, how positive he is, being in pain, being struggling, uncomfortable all the time, having sort of a mindset that's just, he never wants to talk about that. He's always finding the silver lining in something.
2 years ago during COVID in 2020, I think it was July 1st actually, I think I still remember the date. I called him, everybody was trying to sort out all the new COVID protocols and all this stuff, and it was my second year, third year for soccer. So I'm panicking about some situational stuff, and so I text him that morning, and he ends up calling me back a few minutes later, and we talked for probably 20 minutes through this, what in retrospect is a pretty benign issue at that point, and he gives me all this guidance and talks through all this stuff, and like an hour later, his daughter Jessica called and said that they had kind of confirmed his ALS diagnosis. And she was understandably very upset. And he knew in that conversation, he put me first, reassured me, took care of me, and then, hung up the phone and kind of transitioned. And I feel very fortunate that the field, our field is now Ken Erny Field, our boys take the field with great pride, knowing that they're playing on Kinney Erny Field, and that's a point of pride for them. And I think for our community, that's a big point of pride. And
I'm forever thankful that I had an opportunity to work for Ken and to work with Ken. And I'm extremely, extremely proud to say that Ken Erny is in the Fruitport Hall of Fame. Congratulations, Ken, and to the Erny family. This is well-deserved and long overdue. God bless.
I just think that Ken is very deserving of this honor and all the accolades that he has been given recently. And he's a one in a million. And everyone appreciates and loves him. And I'm just thankful I had him as a boss for so many years, because there's no one other like him. So.
None of these, quote, accomplishments were one-person accomplishments. They were because of the support of other people all around me that continued to the end of my time at Fruitport and even beyond that. There is something that I've said, and I really mean, that if I had a choice to be anywhere for a career, I wouldn't choose anywhere else. Thank you to everyone whose input has been supportive and fabulous. Thank you for all those who played soccer and helped me grow and learn. For my assistant coaches and staff in the office, I couldn't have done it without you. God bless you all.
I think I can speak for all of us when I can say, with service to Fruitport Community Schools, we are all very honored to induct Ken Erny.
It's getting late, so I have a few words. I'm just joking. That was for Johnny. I wanted to tell him I'd rather finish my speech before he stood up. Thank you so much. To my wife, Lori, my remarkable family. Thank you for all the players that are here and the guys that were athletes before me. It's you people that are my reward, all of you. And I wasn't sure, but I said it on the film at the end, I'll say it and then be done. Nowhere in the world, nowhere would I rather be spending 30 years in professional education than right here at Fruitport. I love you all. Thank you.
If we can get just one final round of applause for all of our inductees tonight. What a class, huh? And I just want to say thank you guys for having me back here and being a part of tonight. It was an honor to join all of you. And as a Michigan State grad, this is the only time I say go blue.
One more round of applause for Tara. Thank you, Tara. Student-athlete leadership development was always at the forefront of Ken's tenure as athletic director. When it came to leadership, Ken not only talked the talk, but he certainly walked the walk. Ken created SALT, or Student-Athlete Leadership Team, which continues today, and invested in students at Fruitport, helping them develop leadership skills and mindsets would go with them well beyond the field of play and their time here at FHS. Tonight, we'd like to announce that a scholarship fund is being created this year in Ken Erny's name. This scholarship will be awarded each year to one male, one female student athlete at Fruitport High School who best exemplified the leadership qualities Ken taught and represented for so many years. This year, the scholarship committee will partner with the Fruitport Education Foundation to allow this scholarship to be awarded to members of the class of 2023. Going forward, funds will be raised with the goal of establishing a standalone fund in Ken's name that can positively impact student athletes each year who have made their own impact on Fruitport High School. Tonight, we ask that you please consider donating to the Ken Erny Student Athlete Leadership Scholarship Fund. Donation envelopes will be available on the table as you exit the building.
What an amazing night this has been. James, Mindy, Rex, Brandi, Betty, and Ken, thank you for sharing your stories with us this evening, and to the many individuals who spoke on your behalf. The stories that were shared about our inductees have further validated their nominations into the Fruitport Hall of Fame. Thank you for your participation in the video process. We also give a huge thank you to tonight's MC, Tara. We appreciate your willingness to return home to be part of this special program, and we always appreciate the wonderful job that you do for us. Fruitport High School graduated its first class in the late 60s, so we know there are 7+ decades of individuals, groups, and/or teams worthy of Hall of Fame status. We need your help identifying the candidates. Nominations will open for the class of 2023 on November 1st. Nomination forms can be found on the school district website under the Athletics tab, or by using the QR code which is printed in tonight's program. We encourage you to nominate yourself or someone you know who fits the criteria listed under each of the 3 Hall of Fame categories.
At this time, we ask that our 6 inductees exit the auditorium and head to the photo stand located outside the Commons area for their professional picture. To everyone else, thank you again for joining us this evening and celebrating our 6 inductees. Please drive home safely and enjoy the rest of your weekend. Thank you.